Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. The professors in the building ready for a lecture. Hey, we got a little surprise. I want to see what your thoughts are if we added, me mainly, basically what I'm calling office hours. You know, as a professor, you're supposed to be responsible for making sure that you have office hours during your week. So we're thinking about Wednesday, if you would, maybe 4 o'clock Central Time or something like that. We'll have a session where you can call in and talk to the dean and ask the questions of the week that we couldn't necessarily get to. So in between the lectures, we're gonna have office hours. We'll look at starting that next week. And you can even call in early and leave a message for a question that you want answered during the lecture hours. We'll bring in different professors into it to answer a question as well, based on the time, but I will be the main person in there. The number you can call to leave your question or message, if you would, is 678-459-4236. So this will be the dean's office hours. Again, that's 678-459-4236. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. And if you think this is something that we should proceed to do, we'll probably do it anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. Again, it'll be weekly. It may be random, but we'll probably start it off on Wednesdays, looking at next Wednesday at 4 o'clock. You'll also be able to call in directly on the show if you like. And so we'll look at doing that. So let me know your thoughts and make sure that's something that we should consider. Again, that number is 678-459-4236. I'll post it, as you imagine, into the chat as we get it going. But with that being said, we're on episode 201. We had that magic episode on Sunday that reached 200. Kudos to you all for making it happen, allowing us to get there. Kudos to Roy, the production extraordinaire, getting it done in the background in terms of our partnership. We've been doing it longer than that, but we partner with my JBN, my BCSN. You can download it. And now we're on episode 201. It's hard to imagine that we've eclipsed that 200 number. So I'm excited about that and thought I would give some accolades with that. As we move forward, welcome to episode 201 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, the professors. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live on KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. My understanding, he is in the ballpark, so he's moving around, so some other things may be going on, but we'll get it done. And Mike Washington is actually on the road, but he found a way to get in the building. You know how we do it. We make it work, as we'd like to think we're some of the hardest people in the business. And we're talking about working the hardest in the business as always. Today's episode of Inside HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THC Agency, LLC. THC Agency is the company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. I saw you got a chuckle there, Charles. How you doing? What's going on out there? What's got you in good mood?
Doing well, Dr. Cavil. I tell you what, our lab listeners, they cutting up early as we get ready for class. So I was just taking a look at Zoe Phillips in there having a blast with some Valley fans and things of that nature. I see Thad Reed out there. Looks like he looks like he trying to put Frenchies on us. What is this? Looks like the Jackson State contingent has showed up today.
They look excited. Oh, okay. So this is the Texas Southern side of things. All right. Welcome. I appreciate that. I like it. I like it. That's what it's about. We're going to have fun with this. But we do got a nice little quarterback. We got our own freshman quarterback, Texas Southern University, doing things. We're going to see. We got the clash of two young guns. This ought to be fun. So let's bring it. With that, Mike, how you doing on the road out there?
No, not bad. Not bad at all. Nice to be up on the road with some fresh, clean, crisp air. As I see Thaddeus Reed talking a little noise on the chat line, talking about Dr. Cavil. We putting 60 up on y'all this Saturday.
man, Zoe said Texas Valley.
Oh, well.
No, we ain't Valley. We ain't Valley.
Lord.
Valley?
Lord,
we talking Valley?
No.
I think I would take a different tone than what they're doing in the chat line. So
We talking Valley?
It's good times. But again, let me know if y'all like the office hour. We get y'all to have call in and bring some of these points that you're making. And so we'll also play your recorded voice. So drop it, call the number, get it on there. We'll place it in there. Like I said, let's make it happen. With that, let me stick with you, Charles. What are your thoughts on today?
Yeah, I'll get to a little bit of news and hate to start it off this way, but I'm going to start on a bit of a somber note. Is Albany State linebacker was killed by a bus yesterday, and I want to mention his name, young man Adonis Butler, sophomore linebacker on the Albany State football team, was killed by a city bus Monday afternoon. The Hampton, Georgia resident was reportedly on his way to practice when he was hit on the east side of the Albany State campus. So we want to send condolences and prayers to not just that man's family, but to the Albany State community as well.
Yeah, it's very sad. When I first heard that, I was just bummed about it. I'm glad that you mention it. It's such an important prayers, as you said, to all those associated with him, his family. Obviously, Albany State, Golden Rams, that family, the football team, the coaches, and the entire SIAC and HBCUs, that these things really hit home when they seem to be so untimely. So wanted to make sure that we had a pause just to honor him in this moment. With that being said, go back to you, Mike. What's on your mind at this time?
Oh man, so much. I let me just go back and say that when you see a young man in the prime of their life lose their life, you just take a minute and say, hey, life is too short. So my heart and prayer go out to this young man and his family, because I saw the tweet as well, and so I just wanted to reiterate that. I have kids that are his age, and I just can't imagine being a parent. So. With that having been said and done, and sorry if I digressed a little bit, but that kind of touched me.
No doubt. I appreciate you leaving that thought. It's important.
So it looks like we got some, I know this is not football, but soccer seedings have been announced, and the SWAC has announced its 2021 soccer tournament seedings. We can't forget there's other sports. SWAC regular season co-champion, the Prairie View A&M, is number 1 seed, 8-1 in the SWAC, while SWAC regular season co-champ is some school called Alabama A&M. They enter the tournament as the number 2 seed. They're 8-1 in the SWAC, so they're decent. They're okay. So Grambling State claimed the number 3 seed at 6-2, followed by Alabama State 5-3-1. Texas Southern is seeded number 5 seed. And Jackson State, that's that little school in Jackson, is 3-3-3, and they're seeded number 6. So, and then following the trail is Southern and UAPB. So that tournament, women's soccer, kicks off on November 4th and goes through November 5th. So keep an eye on the lady soccer players. This tournament is going to be jam-packed. It's going to be exciting. So we look forward to see what comes out of it.
Great points. I'm glad you shared. Chivalry's not dead. Make sure we give the women some love. Soccer program. Shout out to Prairie View A&M Women's and Coach Carvello is from Prairie View A&M, and Stevenson from Alabama A&M. Shout out to them. Give them some love there. That's very appropriate. Turning back over to you, Charles. What other news, hot and heavy, that you want to make sure to get out there?
Yeah,
I
got some.
They have with the flyover, I must add, from FAMU for their homecoming. That's beautiful photography. I like that.
Yeah, I was leaving that one.
Good stuff. And you know what? Dr. Bill, let me welcome back one of our lab listeners, Kate Johnson. Welcome back into the lab. Always listens religiously week in, week out. Welcome back. I see you back in the chat, so definitely want to send a shout out to Kate.
Shout out to Kate. Good to have you back.
What's going on, Kate?
Good to have you back. Other news out there, of course, if you have not heard by now, but Alabama State, they have moved on for Coach Donald Hill-Ely. He was relieved of his duties as head football coach. And this happened a couple of days ago, so on November 1st. Yesterday. But Alabama State fell to 3-4 on Saturday in its fourth consecutive loss to their rival Alabama A&M in the Magic City Classic. Alabama State was 20-21 under Coach Hill-Ely, who took over as interim head coach after Brian Jenkins was fired during the 2017 season. So definitely, the winds of change are happening within the Southwestern Athletic Conference early.
Yes, Alabama State is known to kind of pull that trigger through the season. They have high demand for their program. Dr. Hill-Ely, so the thing is, he definitely has the ability to move over to the academic side, so that's a good thing. But hate to see that for him. Obviously understand for the program in terms of it means in their expectation in a lot of ways. Boy, you talking about the young guns on the VP of athletics and their side, Dr. Jason Cavil having to make that call. Boy, I tell you, these guys are serious. The SWAC, I don't know if this is part of the new SWAC trend where, it gets tough out there. They say on Facebook, roughing the SWAC.
You better believe it.
Some other things in terms of FAMU that's roughing the SWAC in terms of their homecoming little video that's going around. I was like, wow. FAMU does it differently. I will say that much.
Yeah, they're all right. They're all right.
Way to go, fam. Get your 31,000 in there.
Great job, FAMU. 31,000.
Yeah, I was talking a little bit more about the sideline episode that took place that they were distracted.
I caught that.
That was not right. That's a flag. We need to have a flag on the play.
Oh, yeah. Like that's flag on the play.
That's truly bragging different. I like that.
No, that's the definition of illegal motion.
Oh man, y'all bad. Y'all some bad folks. Y'all some bad. Shoes change too. Thaddeus talking about changing shoes. Stop it. Man, let me get out of here for this heat that's going on. Let me go to you, Mike. What other news that you got?
Yeah, Noenzo talking about this. Watch your language. It's the Jackson State. No, it's the Prairie View A&M. So I just
it starts early.
So I saw a couple of chats. I had something else, but congratulations to Bowie State. They move up in the National Division II rankings after clinching the CIAA North. They are now moving up to number 8 in this week's D2Football.com top 25 poll season on Monday. I know we get into our polls, Dr. Cavil and Charles, but I had to recognize Bowie State because I have to go back to that first game they lost. There were so many people off the cliff. See, I'm losing my earpiece based on that first game, and here they are, 8-1, 6-0, and up number 8 in this week's D2 poll, and they've clinched the CIAA. I had to talk Prairie View fans off of the cliff when they lost to Incarnate Word. Be careful of the cliff and watch the data points. Remember, it takes several data points to make a season. So congratulations to Bowie State.
Great points made there. And we'll get into poll ranking. Some changes. I'll kind of trickle that out of there. There's going to be changes in the mid-major. We'll get to it shortly after this break. But before we get into that, Charles Bishop, anything else that you wanted to share out there in terms of the news of the week?
Yeah, I want to put this out there. MEAC commissioner, he is to be honored by the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Dr. Dennis Thomas, who is an Alcorn State alumnus and current commissioner of MEAC, will be honored by the SWAC. Dr. Thomas has been selected as the recipient of the 2021 SWAC Lifetime Achievement Award. During his collegiate playing career, Dr. Thomas was a standout offensive lineman at Alcorn, where he was a two-time Pittsburgh Courier All-American, 1972-1973. He was also named the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year. That's a little bit of trivia because he won that award over somebody else in 1973. But he is the first and only offensive lineman to win the award. Thomas was a member of the Braves 1970 SWAC championship team. And of course, his teams won a combined 27-8. Of course, he is in his 20th year as commissioner of the MEAC. So kudos to Dr. Dennis Thomas. But that little trivia question, SWAC Offensive Player of the Year, he beat out somebody that went on to a tremendous Hall of Fame career in the National Football League.
Yeah, just a little somebody.
Yeah, little somebody named Walter Payton. Yeah,
exactly. Put that out there. Let's get into this media break. Before we do that, though, weekly honors. Shout out to Texas Southern's Andrew Body, Southern's Ray Anderson, and Luke Jackson, along with Jackson State Shador Sanders, as they respectively won offensive, defensive, specialist and newcomer of the week for their football honors. Shout out to Andrew Body. He also won a national recognition for Offensive Player of the Week. In terms of the MEAC, he had Norfolk State quarterback Jawan Carter, continues to get it done, playing well. MEAC Football Offensive Player of the Week, presented by Coca-Cola. Norfolk State linebacker Tyler Long was Defensive Player of the Week, while Norfolk State running back J.J. Davis was named Rookie of the Week. Norfolk State Colby Bird was named Offensive Lineman of the Week. And earning Specialist of the Week honors was Delaware State's Matt Nall. I like the fact that MEAC throws in that Offensive Lineman of the Week and make sure they have some love there. I certainly could understand that for Dr. Dennis Thomas. I hope they continue to do that. That's a nice touch. I don't know if that's something he brought in, if they were doing that before him, but that's pretty cool. With that, let's go to the break. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back after this break and get into the mid-major and major division poll rankings. We'll see if there's some changes. I can tell you now there's some changes in the mid-major poll ranking. We'll see about the major division. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, because he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Professors in the building. Man, I don't know what we're gonna do with these office hours because they acted up in the lab today. I love it though. Keep the comments coming. Good stuff, good stuff. It shall be entertaining, but it is time of that year. When you get the fakers from the shakers, we're going to see who's moving. Let's look at the poll rankings. We do have changes at the top. Let's get into the mid-major division poll rankings for week number 9. That's Dr. Cavill's 2021 HBCU mid-major division football poll rankings. Let's see where we got here. I can tell you we will have a new number 1. Following out the polls this week, though, is Fort Valley State Wildcats, 5-4, 3-2. They got beat up by Savannah State. That made a statement, and so took a little luster off of the classic there, if you would, for Fort Valley State and Albany State. Obviously, still will be a lot of just good old-fashioned winner take all spoils, but not in terms of the Eastern Division, as Albany State has locked it up. Top 10, Kentucky State Thoroughbreds, 5-4, 3-2, 12 points. They were not ranked last week. They jumped back after the poll after a couple of weeks' absence. They will set up what will be big time matchups, as you have number 9 Miles Golden Bears 5-4. They stay at number 9 with 19 points. The winner of those two prospective games, Kentucky State, in terms of Central State, they win. That means Miles Golden Bears would have to win over Tuskegee. If they win, they do have the tiebreaker against Kentucky State. They would get it there. They could get in a 3-way tie, and it might get a little more interesting, but not so fast, because Miles also has the tiebreaker over Lane. Miles wins, they're in the championship game. If they don't, then it may get a little more interesting. At number 8, Virginia Union Panthers 5-4, 22 points. They move up 3 spots as they bounce back with a big win this past weekend. And number 7, Lane Dragons, steady this year, 6-3, 3-2, 31 points. They move up 1 spot for number 8. Finishing out the bottom 5 programs of the top 10 is number 6, Shaw Bears out of CIAA, 6-3, 5-1, solid season. Not quite enough, as they couldn't get it earlier this season against Fayetteville State. Fayetteville State, as they are in the top 5, they have locked up the championship bid. You'll hear that refrain. Several programs have locked it up and will prepare for play for conference championships next weekend. Shaw Bears has 53 points. Let's get in the top 5 of the rankings. At number 5, Savannah State Tigers, 72, 5-1. They got the win, so they stay at number 5. At number 4, yes, things are changing. Langston Lions, they had a devastating loss, 7-1, 6-1. They were previously the only undefeated program out there in terms of football. No longer. They went into Louisiana and lost a game. They have a big matchup this week, though, still in terms of controlling the division. They got to get it done. In terms of next week, we'll talk about that a little later in the week. But they moved down for number 1, bringing us to number 3. Fayetteville State Broncos, 7-1, 6-0, 79 points. Previous ranked 4, bringing us to number 2. Albany State Golden Rams, sitting at 8-1, 5-0, 3 first-place votes, 81 points. They move up a spot, bringing us to the new number 1. Shouldn't surprise a lot of people. Some people had them number 1. They're all up over the top 10 rankings in the national polls at the Division II level, along with Albany State, are setting up, if they can win out, to make sure that they have a first-round home game and maybe even some buys. But let me get to it. The Bowie State Bulldogs land atop the poll rankings as the new number 1 program, 8-1, 6-0, their conference race, 7 first-place votes, 94 points. They get it done. That means next week, both teams win. You're talking about a top 3 matchup, 1 versus 3, that have done it several times before. Will anything change? We'll get a chance to talk about that a little more next week. But at this point, I want to ask the professors in the room, what do they think about the mid-major poll rankings, the changing of the guard in terms of number 1? Maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. Let me start with you. Professor Washington, what do you think about the top 10 mid-major poll rankings in week number 9? Well,
let me just say, Fayetteville is doing their normal thing. That's the only concern I have, Dr. Cavil, is that's that typical pattern. They win that side of the house, and they get to the championship game. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So other than that, I do agree they played well, but because they play in that part of the division, and if you look at overall statistically, they're still like 3 and 4 across the board. That's the one I think I would rate Fayetteville a little bit lower, but other than that, your poll as well. Yeah, I agree. Bowie State, they are who we thought they are.
So
do you agree? And I'm gonna ask you this as well, Charles, but I'll start with you, Mike, on this before I come to you, Charles, and get your whole opinion, but I want you to put this in there. Do you agree where Langston failed to at number 4?
I was the biggest Langston thing, but I don't know if they should have failed to number 4.
Yeah.
I don't know if they should. And trust me, I was the biggest Langston critic, but they showed me something. And they're bouncing back. I don't think it's fair for them to fall all the way to 4.
Charles? What are your thoughts on Nova? Good point, Mike. I'm glad that you shared that opinion. It's not that I have to bring it out of you. You always do. But with that being said, I do want to know what Charles, Professor Bishop, thinks of the top 5, as well as that question. Do you agree how far Langston fell?
I was surprised Langston fell that far. I was really slotting them probably around 3 somewhere, but for them to fall one spot further, that surprise loss Louisiana College, that really kind of shocked me. But, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Bowie State and Fayetteville State, I think this is what, the 3rd year in a row they're going to meet for the CIAA supremacy. But Bowie State is just dominant. I mean, when I went back and looked at the stats, over 350 yards rushing this past week, and we know Bowie State to throw the ball. So it's like, wow, you know, now Kari Lane, that's the question for Fayetteville State. Can he have that type of game that he where he goes off? Can he do that against the elite? Can he do that against Bowie State? So I'm going to be purposely watching that Bowie State Fayetteville State matchup whenever they get together. That's going to be fun. So.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be a major data point.
Yes, indeed. I believe all the fakers are shaking out now. I think
absolutely.
We got all the real contenders.
Especially
in the top 10.
Yeah. You know who's there. It's solid. Now it's just jockeying to see who can be crowned. I would love the fact if somehow Albany State and Bowie State made it into the playoffs and played in the quarterfinal area to see who goes to the next round. Boy, you talk about magic in both ways to see them play with each other. Good comments out there. I know you guys have the Rams 2 behind Bowie State. No, not so fast. They're right there. 1 and 2. Albany State got the love. Said, come on, Langston. They got a chance to bounce back. Great point. Yeah. Thaddeus, Reed, and Lorenzo Phillips talking about Eric Evans. They agree with you, should be number 3 in terms of what that looks like in the poll rankings. So Dwight Moore as well talks about that loss dramatic to be the latest one of the loss and drop from 1 to 4. Yeah, good point. Yeah,
good point, Dwight. That's my point exactly.
Let's see about the top major division poll rankings. Some changes here, not too much. You do have some teams dropping out. The bottom teams are a little more in flux, not so much at the top 5 areas, but we do have a new team in the top 5. So check this out. Falling out this week was Alabama State Hornets 3-4, 2-3. Not only did it cost them a spot in the top 10, but it cost Dr. Hill Eagley his job at Alabama State. Grambling State Tigers 3-5, 2-3. Tough road loss to FAMU. FAMU certainly made a statement in terms of holding them out of the end zone, literally in more than one way. At number 10, Delaware State Hornets quietly 4-4 on the season, 1-1. This is a team that Bowie State, Division II FCS, but many people thought they would get it done in terms of the Bulldogs. Not so fast. They did have 6 turnovers in that game as we go back in, but that win by Delaware State is looking a little more solid, and they're 4-4. Tough losses, playing good football, but kudos to see Delaware State taking the next step and making that program relevant. 20 points. Bringing us to number 9, Southern Jaguars top 10 program. They jumped back in after a big win over Alcorn State, taking down at the time a top 5 program in the poll rankings. They were at home, and they get another major chance this week of taking on another top 5 program. Boy, Southern Jaguars, what a season. It should be interesting. This is after they lost to the top 5 program. You're talking about 3 consecutive weeks, not to mention they have Jackson State coming up. So it doesn't get any easier for Southern Georgia. If they find a way to get it done, they should probably be a top 5 program. We should see if that makes sense. At number 8, South Carolina State Bulldogs 4-4, 3-0. We tried to bury them. They're doing what a lot of us said. Once they got in the conference race, they become irrelevant. But the games are closer than many people thought. But they're doing what they have to do at this point. They're winning. They have moved up 1 spot, 30 points in the poll. It brings to number 7. Alabama A&M Bulldogs 4-3. They bounced back after 3 state losses. 2 of the losses are against top 5 programs, top 3 programs to be exact. So the one that really stubbed their toe is that loss to Grambling that is not ranked in the poll rankings. We'll see what that means the rest of the season. At number 6, Alcorn State Braves. They fall out of the top 5, but they don't fall that far. 5-3, 4-1, 54 points. They do go on the road this week, so it'll be interesting to see, do they have the ability to bounce back They play at Bethune-Cookman early kickoff. Will that affect them as they get off the plane the day before? At number 5, Tennessee State Tigers. They lost that game to Grambling early in the season. Got beat up by Jackson State, but now that win, Jackson State over Tennessee State, looks that much more solid because Tennessee State has won 3 straight games, 5-3, 3-4, 62 points. They move up a spot, are now in the top 5 program. The number 4, Norfolk State Spartans, winning 6 in a row, 6-2, 2-0 in the conference race. They've been winning, putting up a lot of points, but some question maybe on the defensive side. 74 points, but they stay at number 4. Bring us to number 3, Florida A&M Rattlers, 6-2, 4-1. We know about the defense, but they were able to put up some offensive points this week. 89 points, remain at number 3. Bringing us to Prairie View, they had a bye this week. Prairie View Panthers, 6-1, 5-0, 6 first place votes, 110 points, remaining at number 2. They have homecoming this week against Alabama State. New coach, we'll see what that makes of that matchup as they may be looking ahead to Alcorn State. The matchup that seems that will decide the West. We'll see if that really comes to fruition this week, though. They have Alabama State. At number 1, Jackson State Tigers, 7-1, 5-0, 7 first place votes, 113. It became a rivalry game in Mississippi down in the Delta. It got close, 21-19, but Jackson State does what they do this year at least, and they find a way to close out games and get the W, and they did just that. As such, they stay at number 1. That's 5 straight weeks at number 1. Can they hold on to it as they get in prepared to close out the Eastern Division, potentially play for a championship? But they got that old rivalry game, Southern rivalry game against Alcorn. They happen to be teams in the West Division now, but that'll be interesting to see how they close out the season. They do it in right fashion. They will play for a conference championship. Let me go to you, Charles Bishop. What do you think in terms of the major division top 10 poll rankings in week number 9?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the top 5, all very solid teams, especially Tennessee State. They have really had a bounce back because wasn't really particularly expecting this Tennessee State to show up, but they are the number 1 defense in the OVC. And I know Grambling fans are sitting around looking like, where was this Jeremy Higbottom at Grambling? This Jeremy Higbottom is making plays, and he's not turning the ball over. He's protecting the football. Tennessee State has really righted the ship, and they are really, although it's a little bit of a watered down OVC this year, but Tennessee State is making plays and doing what they need to do. Tough one coming up against UT Martin this upcoming week. But when you take a look at, I have to give kudos to Vince Gansey and his Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. Tremendous job in terms of playing Jackson State this past week. Defensively, they were game. They just didn't have the horses, I guess, to run with Jackson State because Jackson State just has that unique ability to go from 8 to 10 whenever they really need to. Whenever they need to make a play, they find playmakers week in, week out, whether it's Malachi Wyman, whether it's Trevante Rucker, but they have playmakers on that offensive side of the ball. It's just a matter of getting the ball to them. But I have to say this, Valley did a great job. They turned Jackson State over a couple times. Shador Sanders' only 2-pick game this season. So that was a tremendous job for Mississippi Valley State. But when you take a look from 1 to 5, all very good teams. It should be truly a November to remember as we get going to this SWAC championship.
Points well made. Professor Washington, what do you say, Mike?
Yeah, I got a few problems with this one. So great effort. Here's what we know now. We know that Tennessee State is back in the football business. We know that. They're number 2. They're number 2 in the OVC. Jeremy Higbottom is back in the QB business. Guess who's number 2 in the OVC in passing? Guess who's number 2 in passing efficiency? Where I'm agreeing with CB. Where was this Higbottom? By the way, who's number 3 in rushing? Devin Starling.
Starling, yeah.
Yes. So, man, you could make an argument that Tennessee State, based on their schedule and who they played, I wonder if Norfolk State played that same schedule, would they fare as well? They could jump ahead of Norfolk State. You can make that argument. I agree kind of where it's at, but I think Tennessee State is kind of up there. Now that they've shown that they're in the football business. The other thing is, Southern may have lost to Prairie View, but didn't Southern beat Alcorn State?
That was a hell of a win.
Yes. So
Yeah.
So by my judgment, Southern is number 9, but Alcorn is still up there, number 6. Should be more of a difference. I would have looked at it. I always look at head-to-head matchup, and when you beat a team like Alcorn like that was a great game. I think that should account for more in Southern's ranking as number 9. You got to admit, somebody in the chat line made a difference. You know, he made the comment that if you look at defense, Jackson State hadn't allowed anybody to get more than 15. They're averaging their opponents at 15 points a game, something like that. And Prairie View's only right behind there. And you got to look at Alcorn is a little bit further below there in the meat packing order. So, so I question that Southern being that far behind the Alcorn State, and I wonder.
So let me ask you this, jump in here and ask you this before we take this break. How far up do you move Southern, and how far down do you move Alcorn State? Let's get to the cracks.
All right. Well, so I think you move Alcorn State down at least one slot. You move Southern up. They should be neck and neck at a minimum. You should have maybe.
So you have Southern at 6 and Alcorn at 7.
No.
Okay. You have Alcorn at 7. I mean, you have Southern at 7, Alcorn at 8.
No, I'm not saying to move Alcorn back that far. I'm saying maybe Alcorn. You move Tennessee State up, move Norfolk State down, even though they're performing well.
All right, 5-4. You're flipping that. But your argument was with Southern. I want to know Alcorn. Where you moving it now? You saying they too low where they should be closer? What you doing? Give me out.
I think they move. I think for sure they move above South Carolina State and above Alabama. So they're at least 7.
All right. So where do you take Alcorn to?
Alcorn can stay straight but close the delta.
You have Alcorn at 6 and Southern at 7 because Southern had to win over Alcorn.
Correct.
Gotcha.
The head-to-head.
We'll be right back after this break, and we'll get into some of the matchups coming up this week. I don't know if I agree with Mike. I think he's bumped his head, but I wanted to make sure we had it on record. So the rest of the lab,
get it on record. Get it on record.
Teach Mike a lesson. The professor
head-to-head is very important.
Call me about Mike's comments and let us know your thoughts on that. We want to hear what you had to say. Make sure you call and give them an update. That number is 678-459-4236, 678-459-4236. Leave a message and let Mike know what your thoughts are. With that, we'll be right back.
Bring it.
Leave me and ask a question about the poll. We'll get it in and I'll make sure I answer it during the office hour next week as we get into it. Just prepping and getting your thoughts out there. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with the professors. Professor Washington, Professor Bishop. Let's get into these mid-major games of the week. We're going to CIAA. We're going to go to a top 10 matchup. It is a rivalry. Virginia State Panthers 3-5, 3-3 overall at number 10. Virginia Union Panthers 5-4 overall, and 4-2 in the conference race. No divisional alignments up. We already told you Bowie State locked it down for the North. Fayetteville State locked it dodown for the South. So that's done. But SIAC, we have Tuskegee Golden Tigers 3-6, 2-3 at number 9. Miles Golden Bears 5-4, 3-0. If they win that, and I said that is Miles Golden Bears, they'll represent the West in terms of SIAC against Albany State that is locked down. But then you have for Kentucky Alumni Studia SIAC matchup with Central State Matadors 1-8, 0-5 at number 10. Kentucky State Thoroughbreds 5-4, 3-2. If the Miles Golden Bears slip, Kentucky State wins, they get the bid to play for SIAC championship. Starting with you, Mike, what are your thoughts on these matchups this upcoming weekend?
I gotta go with Miles on this matchup. I think they played, well enough. I guess to this point to be consistency with both teams has been my concern with Lane Tuskegee specifically. I mean, if you look at some of their losses, and their margin of losses and how they fluctuated. They dropped one to Kentucky State, by 7. They dropped one to Lane by 4 points, and these were home games. And so at least Miles has been able to at least have a home field advantage. So I'm not sure where this game is played, but Miles appears to be the stronger team in this particular contest. And I think
it's in Fairfield, Alabama, Albert J. Sloan Alumni Stadium, which is home of the Golden Bears.
Yeah. Golden Bears. Yep. So I still roll with Miles on this one.
Charles, in terms of Richmond, Virginia, or Frankfort, Kentucky, can Kentucky State make it interesting? Are they going to be hoping that Miles has the loss? Obviously, they play at 12 while Miles play in 1, so they will be deep at the end of the game. They'll get to catch the end of that matchup in terms of if they put it to bed for themselves. Then you have just the old rivalry matchup, Virginia State, Virginia Union. What are your thoughts on any of these matchups?
Yeah, Kentucky State can make it interesting because they average over 300 yards per game rushing the football. So they can beat you up if need be. But it should be an interesting one watching Kentucky State. But going back to Miles and Tuskegee, I expect for Miles to get this win. The question for me is, can Miles get that running game up and going? This past week, Dante Edwards, nice game on the ground, 113 yards. But can Lewis Williams, can he be special? He threw for over 300 yards this past week for Tuskegee. So it's an interesting matchup, but I like Miles at home. And I just don't think anybody can guard Charles Hall, Virginia Union. So I'm expecting Virginia Union to get the W over Virginia State.
Good points made there. Eric Evans jumps in here, ASU, and he's talking about Albany State. Albany is Albany. Make sure that we know. With lowercase Miles, most likely, as he said, SIAC championship. I think he's saying that the Golden Rams will get it done. I like that. Yeah. LaShawn Harris says he agrees. She agrees with you, Mike. Alcorn number 6, ASU number 7. Wow. Yeah. Thaddeus Reed is in here. He's getting into some great topics. MEAC should join the SWAC. MEAC is not going to like hear about that. Wendy Jenkins Bishop shouting out to Kate, saying hi, Sarah. I love that. I love that. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thoughts there. Yeah. With that being said, we're going to take our last break inside HBCU Sports Lab with Professor Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We'll get into this last break, back and look at the major division. Before we do this, I'm just going to shout it out again. I'm excited. I want to know what you're thinking. Ask your questions. This is the Dean's Office Hours. We'll start this next week, but you can start calling in now. We have a chance to play some over the week, see what your questions are, see if we can get these answers. Get a dedicated time next week where you can call in and interact even more, posting throughout the show That number that you can call in and leave a message is 678-459-4236. That's 678-459-4236. You can call anytime, leave a message. We'll have a number for you to call on to the show as we get into the office hours and see if you have some questions for the dean in terms of HBCU sports outlooks. Giving you a chance to even be more active than you are doing the show, because we love the lab lecture and the listeners. You're getting it done. Stick with us. We'll be right back as we enter into the fourth quarter. This is Dr. CAVIL'S Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Stick with us as we get into the major division matchups. MEAC and SWAC. Let's see what's going on now. It's getting good.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High-quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Yes, you're into the lesson. We're going to get a lesson today, and the lesson is going to go to the major division. And we're going to start with the MEAC major division game of the week. It is a matchup featuring number 4, Norfolk State Spartans, 6-2, 2-0 in the conference race. They're on the road. They're at North Carolina Central's Eagles, 3-5, 1-1. They had a tight matchup against South Carolina State that I say of the Eagles couldn't get it done. This is in Durham, North Carolina. Old Kelly Riddick Stadium, homecoming. Let me say that again, homecoming, or will it be a homegoing? November 6th at 1 o'clock on ESPN3. Interesting matchup with Norfolk State continue to march on to what they believe is their destination against South Carolina State with the opportunity to make it to the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. Coach Odoms thinks that way, and he wants a piece of the SWAC from a MEAC perspective. Or does he really want that? I will say that much. Let's get into it. Let's go with Charles Bishop. He got some little thoughts on this. He's not too happy with this matchup, or is he? Professor Bishop, what do you say?
I think it's just too much Jawan Pooty Carter. He is the most dynamic player, I think, in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. I think it'll be a little bit too much. Air Spartans will take out North Carolina Central this weekend. Pooty Carter this past week, 368 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He's dynamic. He can get it done, not only with his arm, but with his legs too. I just think the Spartans are a little bit too much. We're not going to see anything shake in the MEAC until it's Norfolk State, South Carolina State from there.
Ooh, a lot of comments there. He's saying it's Norfolk State Spartans. Air Spartans, as he said, they're going to get it done with Mr. Carter. Everything Carter. He is looking good, though. I must say he is playing well. With that being said, Professor Washington, what are your thoughts of this MEAC division game of the week? Number 4, Norfolk State Spartans facing up against North Carolina Central. It is their homecoming. Or do you say that, as Charles said, this is actually just going to be another homegoing? Hashtag protect your home.
No, I think Spartan's gonna roll with it, baby. They're leading the MEAC in total offense, 35. The next closest team is, I think, South Carolina State at about 24 points per game. So their offense is rolling. Their defense is also equally ranked. So was it Juju Carter? I think Alex Hines put it best. He's flying under the radar. So I got to roll with them Spartans on this one.
Yeah, Jeff Robinson says North Carolina Central does not have enough to hang with Norfolk State. I think you have a point there, tight one. He says he likes North Carolina Central, and that is Eric Evans. He's calling for the upset. Top 5 program goes down, according to Eric Evans. Most people said not so fast.
Whoa.
I did want to get back to Stephen Gaither says that when we were talking about Miles, he wanted to make sure people pointed out that 2 of their losses are to the FCS programs, and they come out of the SWAC, which is Alabama State and Southern. Speaking of Southern, we have another game that features Southern. I don't know if we'll get enough of this, but depending on what they do in this matchup, it might get interesting again next week. We'll see what that means. We're back on the bluff, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, A.W. Mumford Stadium, which was the site of a shocker as they knocked Alcorn State out of the top 5 rankings and out of the undefeated race in the conference thing and sent them down the chimney and finally exercised some demons of, 8 in a row, 9 in a row for the Braves down there. But this features a top 10 matchup. We have now, which used to be a big intra-conference matchup, becomes a conference matchup, interdivisional matchup between number 3 Florida A&M Rattlers, 6-2-4-1, at number 9 Southern Jaguars, 4-4, 3-2. Rattlers are still chasing Jackson State, hoping something goes down there or a playoff bid. To do all that, they need to keep winning. You have Southern Jaguars that would none other to knock off another top 5 ranked program in the Rattlers. Arch enemy theirs. If you're talking about Carlos Brown, he'll tell you he can't stand those colors. But they will be in the house next week, so it'll be interesting. 4-4 for the Jaguars, 3-2. As I said, let me start with you, Professor Mitchell. What are your thoughts in terms of this top 10 matchup in the SWAC this week?
Well, first and foremost, can somebody in the chat line confirm that the March 100 will make the trip to Baton Rouge this weekend? Because I got there for March of Sport. I got the jukebox versus the March 100.
I will say this, Charles. I agree with you. They cheated out on another trip to Alabama A&M Bulldogs. They got away with it and got that job done. They were mad because Grambling didn't make it down there this past weekend. They did give credit to Courtney Gaucher. It was not Grambling's fault. It was a death that we want to say condolences to that program as well in terms of what happened in the marching sport. But now they have a chance to go on the road themselves. And the football program certainly could use that additional support. Will the Marching 100 get on the road? If not, I'm not sure they can stay number 1 in what we call the marching sport. We'll see that on Thursday to see if they stay there this week. But certainly next week will be questionable. But with that being said, let's get on the field. What are your thoughts in terms of the Rattlers versus the Jaguars on the field?
It should be a very interesting matchup because you have the number 1 rushing offense in the SWAC with Southern averaging 217 yards per game. And I tell you what, they can give you some issues running the ball. When you're talking about Kobe Dilligan, Devin Ben, Craig Nelson, each of those guys can go for 50, 60 yards and just they can wear you down. But this is the number 2 defense in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Will they pack their rushing game? It's interesting. Once we get to November, you start getting some of these really good matchups. Very interesting data point last week. Mississippi Valley State was the first team to rush for over 100 yards last week against Jackson State. It'll be interesting to see can Southern in some manner get that done this week against FAMU. But I have to go with FAMU until I see otherwise. Southern has been shooting themselves in the foot with some turnovers and things of that nature. They can't do that this weekend with Florida A&M, and that's suffocating defense. So defense wins championships. I got to go with the Florida A&M Rattlers on this one.
Interesting. Before I go to you, Professor Washington, that's why I love the live lectures. They'll let you know they have insight in a lot of the news, especially when they decide to stop punching everybody and getting to it and letting you know. They say, don't nobody want to hear the Grambling band. Oh, wow. But Philip says the orange and green symphony is gone. So that's interesting. Holly says rumors Bama State band coming to the Hill. That becomes really fascinating. So, in terms of what's going on in the field, though, we'll talk a little bit about marching sport on Thursday. I will give my latest band rankings. There are some changes. There were some head-to-head matchups. So we'll see what plays. With that being said, Professor Washington, what are your thoughts in terms of the SWAC matchup? Top 10. Number 3, FAMU Rattlers. At number 9, Southern Jaguars.
Glad you asked. Glad you asked. First, I want to see the Marching 100 come because I don't think they should be number 1 in your band poll, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, that's another discussion. But here's their chance to go head to head. I'm like Antonio Tarver against Roy Jones. Hey, what's your excuse now, Roy? So anyway, so CB brought up some good points. Southern number 1 rushing offense, but Florida A&M is number 2, holding opponents to 102 yards. So whose will be better? Will Southern get 217 yards, or will FAMU hold them to that 100-yard per game average that they've held opponents all year? Second thing, passing. Who's good against the passing? Number 1, Florida A&M, holding opponents to 155. So that passing is not Southern's forte, at least to this point. If they're able to stop the run and make them somewhat one-dimensional, and they have to revert to the pass.
Isaiah Land. Ooh,
exactly.
He's coming.
So defense wins championship, but defense also travels. So I have to go with Florida A&M on this one, on the road. Plus that band performance. I want to see that one.
Yeah, boy, you guys break it down today. I love it. It's been fun, but we have to bid it adieu. With that being said, one last time, check us out. Give us a message. Give a call to 678-459-4236. The Dean's office hours are now open. We will take your personal questions next week as we get into it. You will be able to call into the show, but you can leave messages now in terms of your questions, comments, and thoughts. 678-459-4236. You can either leave them for me, or you can leave these two gentlemen some of your thoughts. That is Professor Bishop, Professor Washington. I'll be in the mood to make sure I answer it. Great show today. I appreciate you all jumping in here and getting it done for us. Great comments, great interaction. We look forward to Thursday. We'll get in a little more of the SWAC matchups, some other ones that are out there. We'll get into some of the independent games of the week and some classic matchups be going on this week as well. So we'll get into all that on Thursday, as well as the marching sport, HBCU marching sport, I should say. Poll rankings, we'll let you know what's going on there. But with that being said, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the listeners inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast, our streaming platforms to your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed this show. We want to thank you again for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday, as you know, right here. We'll be back on Thursday, 6 p.m. sharp, Central Standard Time. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Make sure you join and subscribe to the app. Download my JBN, my VCSN, the app. Get it. We also have the watch party. You can check out a lot of games on Saturday. Oftentimes, I'll come in there and guest with Brian and give you some breakdowns and allow you to watch what's going on with some highlights. Check out the watch party as long as the other shows on my VCSN. We'll get you there. The pregame 1876 Sports and Culture podcast that talks about all the insides you need to know of those programs. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1, that's on Twitter. Check us out. We'll keep you updated on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. We'll continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.